Hi Neal, hi Brock. How are you both?
Great.
Doing
Nice
good.
to see you, Josh.
Good to
Thank you
meet
for
you,
having us on
Josh.
the show.
Well, it's great to be able to speak to you both for this film. And Neal, I wanted to start with you because you've played some incredible villains over the year, like Damien Dark is a favorite of mine. But when this role of the benefactor came to you with Brock, what was it about the character that really appealed to you as an actor?
At first I said no because I just couldn't. I didn't want to play the devil. I've played some pretty heinous characters, from Yellowstone to Justified, and Damien Dark obviously had his issues. But this I thought would be too much. And then I went home and I prayed over it with my wife, Reve, and she said, "Look, you might be the best villain in Hollywood. You have such an incredible relationship with God. You have to play this part because if they cast the wrong person in this, it might send the wrong message to the world." And because I got to work with Brock, who created this, and this is his baby, he allowed me to infuse as much humanity into the benefactor as possible. And by the end of the film, there's a moment, and maybe one of my favorite moments that I've ever had on film, of you have a little compassion towards Lucifer because he sees that Kevin has given up I offer him anything that he could possibly want, but all he wants to do is to do the right thing and give glory to God. And you see on Lucifer's face, gosh, I wish I still had that. I wish I still didn't make those big mistakes that I've made in life. Why am I here? And then I switch back to being Lucifer again. But it's that moment that I love so much because we all have to grapple with problems in life, with addictions to uh, envy, greed, all kinds of stuff. And it's how we dust ourselves up and get up off, after these incidents that happen in our lives that dictate what kind of men and women we are for him. And that's what I love so much about this film, that Brock designed this film to make people, whether you're a believer in God or not a believer in God, or you're Catholic, agnostic, Jewish, Muslim, doesn't matter what you are, but it calls you out to be a better human being after watching this film. In fact, after I didn't tell you, after we saw the film, the premiere the other night, and I never watched my stuff. And I sat there with my wife, Reve, and our 5 kids, ranging from 17 to 9. And after the movie, they loved it so much and they had so many questions. And to sit around a movie and have your family talk about the film. And most films, you can't do that anymore because they're all so dark. And I'm guilty of being parts of very dark fare because that's what's offered to us out there nowadays. But Angel Studios has given Brock the opportunity to tell a story about light instead of just darkness. And thank you, brother, for that. You've made the world a better place through the film that you just made.
I appreciate that. I love that your kids are talking about it. That's awesome.
They're good.
That's what we want. We want those
We have a
discussions.
screening tonight, and I'm like, guys, you don't have to go to the movie tonight. I go, no, Dad, we're all going again. I'm like, wow,
Well, that's
that's
great.
never happened before.
That's awesome.
So it's pretty, yeah.
Oh, that's always a great sign. And Brock, that faith is such an important part of this film, but so is the multiverse, and that's become something we've seen a lot of recently. But I love the concept of the benefactor shifting people, and I thought it was so unique and it's something different. It really does feel like not the same old thing that we have seen a lot in the past couple of years. So, what was the challenge for you in almost recreating this multiverse idea and doing something new with the benefactor and the concept of shifting?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about the film is that it's been an 8-year gestation. And when I first started this, I had to really educate people as to what the multiverse was. And now the pop culture's caught up. And so now we're all like, wow, there's so many multiverse movies out
You
there.
started the trend.
I started
You
the
started the
trend.
trend.
I mean, it's all started with me.
That's right.
No, but it's so in that way, it's been a both blessing and a curse because people are kind of like, oh, are we tired of this? And then at the same time, it's like, well, I don't have to explain so much.
Right.
But I think I love what you just said that this feels different than those, and I think that even though this one, the original conception is a little bit older than some of these movies that have come out more recently, I don't really see where we're treading on the same path that they are. We're definitely looking at it in a different way. We are bopping through universes a little bit, but maybe not as much as some other movies. And I'm much more interested in conceptually what consequences do our choices have and what do they mean?
Mm.
And I think that's what the multiverse gets us to. That's thematically the territory that we're exploring here. And within that exploration, we just end up at a different angle.
Yeah, and I love seeing the amazing Christopher Palaha jump into the skin of different versions of Kevin. The sleazy, gun-toting, maniacal, gave into the devil's whims Kevin.
He's
is
so good at that
just
guy.
awesome. I mean, I laughed in the theater, because I, getting to know Chris as well as I have, and since doing the film, he's one of those guys that, like myself, we jump into our characters, we live our characters, we eat, breathe, sleep our characters, and it was like game day every day we got to set, and the two of us just had at it, and just it was awesome.
Oh, well, actually, funny you should mention that, Neal, because that early scene with the benefactor and Kevin in the diner is one of my favorite in the film, because we see obviously his cool, collected side, then we see his rage and just the way he strikes fear into the people around him. So, you seem like a lovely guy, but I've got to know, how are you so good at playing these evil characters? And how do you give off that vibe where we can believe that you are terrifying these people and you could just blow up at any second?
Josh, when I moved to Hollywood, I had no idea that I would be the villain du jour. I came out here to be a comedian. And at first they're like, well, you're funny, but you just don't look funny. How about the cop? How about the soldier? And then Walking Tall came along. And when I went to the Walking Tall meeting, I thought I was going in. They said, we're offering you, this film, want you to be part of it. I'm like, great. So I read the script and I went in. And I thought I was playing the character that Johnny Knoxville ended up playing. They said, no, we want you to play the villain. I'm like, the villain? I can't play it. What do you mean a villain? I don't have there's no villainy in me. How am I going to do it? And they go, that's why, because you'll figure that out and you're a great actor. And because I have 5 mouths to feed and I won't do sex scenes, I have to do something to provide for my family. So it's either a soldier in the middle of a battlefield or the villain. And it all culminated into this moment to play the benefactor in The Shift, that I got to use all the tools that I've built and worked with over the years to craft and carve a character that was so well written for me. And with Brock's like pinpoint direction, we came up with a character that, especially that first day, was nuts. The first day was a 9-page scene.
It was the diner scene.
It was a diner scene.
Yeah.
And okay, here we go. And roll cameras. Do we get to rehearse a little? No? Okay, here we go. And for me, I love that. I love, coming from such a big sports background. It's Game 7 of the World Series every time I go to set, and it's infectious to other people. And I know it is, because I'm so ramped up to crush whatever scene I'm part of. So to have that as your scene right out of the gates, set the tone for the whole crew. They're like, oh, it's this kind of film. There's some A game being brought here today, and everyone's A game. And then Brock was so exact what he wanted. And by having a great coach to take his players and create a winning team and a winning environment, it was playtime. And for Chris and myself and the rest of the crew, we saw right out of the gates what Brock wanted, and we didn't want to let him down. We didn't want to let the audience down. We didn't want to let Angel Studios down. I didn't want to let my production partner, who happens to be my wife, Reve, down. And we certainly didn't want to let God down. And those are all the things that kind of pumped through our veins while we were making The Shift.
Oh, that's amazing. And you do it so well, Neal. And, as you both said, faith is incredibly important to this movie, but it's also a high concept sci-fi story as well. So for you, Brock, when it came to creating what I think was a really convincing and compelling post-apocalyptic setting, what was the process like for you, particularly when you're not necessarily working with that, Marvel, DC huge budget that a lot of movies like this might have access to? Because I thought you just pulled it off brilliantly.
I appreciate that. Ingesting a lot of comics over many decades and a lot of sci-fi is certainly helpful. Comicbookmovie.com is not a site that is unfamiliar to me. You're talking about the world that I have lived and breathed since I was a kid. And but yeah, we don't have Marvel money for sure. But there's a great tradition of grounded sci-fi. My favorite movie of all time actually is Gattaca, which is a brilliant movie that just sets a tone and takes place in a world that is futuristic, but is not trying to wow you with a million special effects. It tries to wow you with the story, and that's where the focus went for this movie. Is let's focus on the story, let's focus on the characters, let's focus on the ideas, and if we do that, we'll get the scope that we're looking for.
Amazing. And talking of Marvel, just quickly, Neal, it's been a while, I know, since you played Dum Dum Dugan, but everyone loves that character. Do you think maybe we could see you in a flashback, a spin-off, or somewhere in that MCU down the line?
Well, we did the film, we did Captain America, then we did Agent Carter, and then we did some shorts, we did some video games, did all kinds of stuff. I hope. Well, it's hard because for Dum Dum, I gained probably 40 pounds of weight. I always say I'd wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, set my alarm clock, and eat an entire chocolate cake. I would eat and lift all day and grow that massive mustache. So to get that big again, yes, I would enjoy that challenge for sure. I loved playing Dum Dum. He was very near and dear and very close to who I am in real life. So you never know. I would love to see it come back.
Well, fingers crossed. Well, congratulations both on this movie. I had a great time with it, and I'm sure people are going to love it when they see it in theaters this week. So thank you again for your time.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Josh.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Josh.
it.